The car door opens. She gets in. Wrong car. And by the time she realizes, it's already too late. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight's story is one of those cases that feels almost impossible to accept because it didn't require a mastermind or a complex plan or even a long chain of events. It took one moment, one assumption, one decision made in seconds. In Colombia, a 21-year-old college student named Samantha Josephson was simply trying to get home after a night out. She did everything most people do. She ordered a ride on Uber. She stepped outside. She got into a car that looked right. And then she vanished. But here's the part that makes this story so disturbing. She didn't disappear into the unknown. There were clues. There were moments. There were chances. Moments where something felt off. Moments where this could have ended differently. But wait! Here's where it gets unsettling. Because what happened next wasn't immediate. It unfolded slowly, quietly inside a moving car. And by the time anyone realized what was happening, Samantha was already fighting for her life. Before we go further, take a second, because this story could save someone's life. If you care about real stories like this, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment saying stay safe so this message reaches more people. Because what happened to Samantha can happen to anyone. It's March 29th, 2019, a typical Friday night, the kind of night that starts with laughter and ends in silence. Samantha is out with friends, enjoying the night, surrounded by music, conversation, and the comfort of familiar faces. She's known for her warmth, intelligent, driven, with dreams of becoming a lawyer, the kind of person who lights up a room without trying. Nothing about this night feels dangerous. Nothing feels different, but that's the problem. Because danger rarely announces itself. It blends in. It waits for normal moments, like this one. Around 2 a.m., Samantha decides it's time to go home. She pulls out her phone, opens the app, requests a ride. Simple, routine, safe. Or at least, that's what it should have been. Outside, the night air is cool. The streets are dim but calm. Cars pass occasionally. Everything looks ordinary. And then, a black car pulls up, right on time. Right place, right moment. Samantha steps forward, opens the door, and gets in. No hesitation, no questions, no confirmation, just trust. But here's the thing. That car wasn't hers. And the man behind the wheel was not her driver. His name was Nathaniel Rowland. And in that exact moment, two completely different realities collided. To Samantha, this was a ride home. To him, this was an opportunity. But wait, here's where it gets even more disturbing. Because the moment she sat down, something felt off. Maybe it was the silence. Maybe it was the lack of confirmation. Maybe it was instinct. That quiet voice in your head that whispers, something isn't right. And for a brief moment, she hesitates. But the car is already moving. The doors are locked. And now, she's inside. This is the point where everything changes. This is the moment that separates a normal night from a nightmare. And what happens next is something investigators would later piece together through fragments, evidence, and signs of a struggle that tell a story no one wanted to imagine. But we're not there yet. Because before we get to what happened inside that car, you need to understand something important. This wasn't planned in the way you might think. There was no elaborate setup, no high-level scheme, just presence, timing, and a predator waiting for the smallest mistake. And that's what makes this case so terrifying, because it means it could happen again. But wait, we're about to uncover something that makes this even more chilling. Because Samantha didn't just disappear. She fought, and the evidence she left behind tells a story more powerful than words. Stay with me, because what investigators found inside that car will change the way you see this case forever. The car keeps moving. Streetlights blur past the windows one after another, like time slipping away. Inside, the atmosphere shifts. What started as silence turns into tension. And then, resistance. Investigators would later uncover something deeply unsettling. Samantha didn't go quietly. She fought with everything she had. There were signs, clear, undeniable signs, of a violent struggle inside that vehicle. Scratches, marks, evidence that she realized exactly what was happening and refused to accept it. But wait, here's where it gets even more intense. Because while all of this is happening inside that car, outside, life continues. People walk past, cars drive by, music spills out of nearby bars. No one knows, no one sees, no one hears her. And that's the terrifying reality of moments like this. They happen in plain sight, yet remain completely invisible. Now, here's where the timeline becomes critical. Around the same time Samantha got into that car, her actual ride, her real Uber, was arriving nearby. The driver waits, checks the app, tries to locate her, but she's gone, completely gone. And for a while, no one realizes just how wrong things have gone. But wait, here's the part that will stay with you. Inside that car, as investigators would later piece together, Samantha understood. She knew this wasn't right, and she tried to escape, but the doors wouldn't open. The car didn't stop, and the man behind the wheel, Nathaniel Rowland, was no longer pretending. This wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. This was control. This was intent. This was something far darker. Now imagine that moment. You're trapped in a moving vehicle with someone you don't know, realizing you made a mistake you can't undo. That rising panic, that desperate calculation. What do? What can you do? And this is where the story tightens. Because Samantha didn't just fight physically. She fought mentally, trying to process, trying to survive, trying to find any possible way out. But time was not on her side, and neither was the situation. But wait, here's where everything starts to unravel outside that car. Because back in Colombia, something feels off. Her friends notice. Messages go unanswered. Calls don't go through. At first, it's subtle. Then it becomes concern. Then fear. Because Samantha isn't the type to disappear. She's responsible, careful, connected. So when hours pass with nothing, people start asking questions. And those questions begin to expose a chilling reality. Security cameras, street footage, digital trails, all slowly painting a picture. And what they reveal is the moment everything went wrong. But wait, before we get there, before investigators connect the dots, you need to understand something critical. Because what they discovered next wasn't just disturbing. It was proof. Proof that this wasn't random. Proof that this could have been prevented. And proof that Samantha's final moments were far more desperate than anyone initially realized. Stay with me, because the next piece of evidence changes everything. And once you see it, you won't forget it. Hours pass, and the silence becomes louder. Phones keep ringing, messages keep sending, but there's no response. By morning, concern turns into urgency. Something is wrong, deeply wrong. Back in Colombia, Samantha's friends retrace the night step by step, every detail, every moment, trying to find the exact point where things shifted. And then they find it. Surveillance footage. Grainy, distant, but clear enough. It shows Samantha Josephson stepping into a black car, not hesitating, not looking back, just getting in. But here's the problem. That car doesn't match the one from her Uber. Not the same make, not the same plate, not the same driver. And in that moment, everything clicks. She got into the wrong car. But wait, here's where it gets even more chilling. Because once investigators realize this, the race begins. Now it's no longer a missing person case. It's a ticking clock. Police begin scanning traffic cameras, pulling data, analyzing every possible route that car could have taken. And slowly, a pattern emerges. The vehicle is identified, a black Chevrolet Impala, and it belongs to one man, Nathaniel Rowland. But here's where the tension spikes. Because by the time they identify him, hours have already passed, hours that can never be recovered. And every second matters. Police move fast. They locate the vehicle. They track him down. And when they finally stop him, what they find inside that car is something no one is prepared for. But wait, before we go there, pause for a second, because this is a part of the story where everything becomes real. If you've made it this far, take a moment, like the video, subscribe, and comment justice below. because stories like this deserve to be told and remembered. Now, back to the car. Inside, investigators discover evidence of a brutal struggle. Not just signs, but proof, blood, damage, marks that tell a story without words. A story of resistance, of fear, of a fight that never should have happened. And then they find something else. Something that confirms their worst fear. This wasn't a moment of confusion. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a deliberate act. A predator taking advantage of opportunity. And now, they know exactly who they're dealing with. But wait, here's where the story takes a devastating turn. Because while all of this is unfolding, while police are building their case, while evidence is being processed, there's still one question no one can answer. Where's Samantha? That question lingers. It grows heavier with every passing hour. Search teams begin combing through areas outside the city. Fields, wooded paths, remote locations where no one would think to look. And then, the discovery. Less than 24 hours after she stepped into that car, Samantha Josephson is found, alone, far from where she was last seen. The confirmation hits like a wave. Final, irreversible. And suddenly, this isn't just a search anymore. It's a tragedy. But wait, even in this moment of devastation, the story isn't over. Because now comes the part that demands answers. The part that forces everyone to confront a question that's impossible to ignore. How did this happen? And more importantly, how do we make sure it never happens again? Stay with me, because what unfolds next will bring justice. But it will also reveal a truth that is deeply uncomfortable. A truth about how quickly safety can become illusion, and how one small step can change everything. The news spreads fast, too fast. By the time most people wake up, the story is already everywhere. A missing college student, a wrong car, a life taken in hours. And at the center of it all, Samantha Josephson. But behind every headline, there's a family. A mother who can't process the call she just received. A father trying to stay strong while everything collapses. Friends replaying the night over and over, searching for the moment they could have changed something. But wait, here's where the story becomes even heavier. Because grief doesn't arrive all at once. It comes in waves. Shock first, then denial, then the unbearable truth. And while her family is still trying to breathe through that pain, the investigation moves forward. Relentless, precise, because the man responsible, Nathaniel Rowland, is now in custody. And the evidence against him? Overwhelming. Forensic analysis ties everything together. The car, the struggle, the timeline. Every detail closes in. Every piece confirms what happened inside that vehicle. But wait, here's where it gets even more disturbing. Because investigators uncover something that changes how this case is viewed. This wasn't just chance. Rowland had been driving around that night, waiting, looking, watching, searching for an opportunity. And when Samantha stepped into that car, he didn't hesitate. That's what makes this so chilling. It wasn't planned around her specifically, but it was planned for someone. And that realization, that it could have been anyone, sends a ripple of fear far beyond Colombia. Now the case moves to court, and this is where everything is laid bare. Every detail, every moment, every piece of evidence presented in front of a jury. The courtroom is silent, heavy. You can feel the weight of what happened pressing against every wall. Samantha's family sits there, forced to listen, forced to relive, forced to confront the reality of those final moments. And then, the verdict. Guilty. No hesitation. No doubt. Nathaniel Rowland is sentenced to life in prison. Justice is delivered. But wait, here's the truth no one likes to talk about. Justice doesn't fix this. It doesn't rewind time. That IT doesn't undo that moment when she opened a car door. IT doesn't bring her back. And that's the part that lingers. The part that stays with you long after the case is closed. But something else happens. Something powerful. Samantha's story doesn't end here because her family refuses to let it. Instead of letting this tragedy fade into another statistic, they turn it into a message, a warning, a movement. You probably heard it before. What's my name? A simple question. but one that forces verification, forces awareness, forces a pause. And sometimes that pause is the difference between safety and danger. But wait, here's where this becomes personal. Because right now, someone watching this takes rides like this every day. Late nights, quick decisions, moments of trust, moments that feel routine, until they're not. So before we end this story, take a second, like this video, subscribe if you haven't, and comment. I will check. If you promise yourself you'll never skip that step again, because this isn't just a story. It's a lesson written in the most painful way possible. And if it reaches even one person, if it makes even one person stop, check, confirm, then Samantha's voice still matters, still echoes, still saves lives. And as we close this, there's one final thought that refuses to fade. She did everything right, except one thing. She trusted the wrong ride. And that single moment changed everything. Stay safe.